Hey guys, I promised I'd make this video, so I'm doing it. Top 3 heroes of each faction. I actually recorded this video earlier, but technical difficulties, and so I'm re-recording the first part, and I'm hoping to put them together. Hopefully it comes out good, and we'll see what happens. So, what I went into scoring this, I mean, obviously a lot of it's opinion-based, but I valued crowd control, which is not a term that I like. I don't like the way that it's used in this game. To me, crowd control has always been an attack that just hits everybody, like AoE, area of effect attacks. But in this game, it's used for anybody that has a debuff, like stun, silence, petrify, and all that. And so that's a very heavy factor because the current meta of the game, as it stands, is that control is everything. If you can silence your team, if Freya petrifies the whole team, or Shudmel or Luna silences the whole team, you win. It's as easy as that. So, with that being said, I factor those very highly, unless they have just super high damage, in which case, you know, that comes up highly. So, I haven't used all of these heroes, but I'm going off of numbers that I've seen of other people that have used them, and I think that it should be a pretty accurate representation of who the top ones are to focus on. So we're gonna go bink. We're gonna start with Alliance. So Alliance, Ultima, I have to give number 1. Ultima is mainly used if you are fighting stronger people. The reasoning for that is because when Ultima drops to 50% life, that's why you put him as a tank, him, her, it ups the attack of your entire team. I've seen teams that are using Khalil to do the same thing, but Ultima, I don't know, Ultima lives a little bit longer with some more HP, and Ultima's skill also increases the speed of your back row. So if Ultima gets hit to 50% and lives long enough to get his skill off, you've got a very strong blitz attack coming. Now, if your team, or if you're in lower stars, Ultima is actually not for you. You can't use him unless you've got some very serious power in your backline, because if he speeds up and powers up your backline and you've got, you know, weak heroes early on, it's not worth it. So up to maybe 5-star, maybe, if your team is not like full 5 or not full 6 and up, you may not want to use Ultima. Or even if, you know, even if your team is 8 or 9-star but you don't have powerful people, don't use Ultima. Only use him when you've got some real powerhouse characters at high level. If you don't have Ultima, then number 2, I had discussions with people over Saw versus Martin. I give the edge to Saw because of silence. Saw Machine, now the 10-star version, has a 100% chance to silence clerics instead of 80, I think it was. And Teddy, stop that. So more damage to clerics, and most people will have a cleric, at least one cleric, because of Verthandi. Verthandi is very good. Alternatively, they may have Shudmel, and she's very good too. Now, he's not going to help a lot versus Shudmel because she's way faster. She may silence in turn 1 and he may never even get this skill off, but in the off chance she doesn't, then he's going to really shine. Plus he's going to do extra damage to her. So his 10-star upgrade, I mean, it's not huge over what he was, but I still think that this cleric silence is good enough to warrant him being very utility. Plus he's decently strong. Not super strong, but decently strong. I want to throw something at my cat over there. Just to distract him from digging into that bag. So the other option, I think, is Martin. Now, a lot of people don't really have Martin because he's kind of rare. Mine's only 7 stars, so I haven't put a lot of effort into him, but he's really strong. His original skill, I forgot the original percentage. It was only 94% of attack to all enemies, and after a 10-star, it went up to 170% of attack to all enemies. His life is high, his damage is high. He's just a very powerful character, and you know, when your heroes die, when their heroes die, he gets much stronger. So he is kind of a powerhouse. Unfortunately, Alliance doesn't really have like great heroes, but this is kind of what you've got to choose from. As honorable mention goes to Vivienne. She's the best healer in the game. She doesn't bring damage, but she is the best healer in the game. So she doesn't shine for really anything outside of Expedition. But if you have her, oh, you can run through Expedition very, very expediently. Ha! And yeah, her healing is great. I'm using her in my Expedition team. I have a cleric heavy team, and her healing is just very, very useful. Next, we're going to go with Horde. Sorry if I'm rushing through this a little bit. I'm not sure how much I have to re-record for the new video. And I kind of want to speed it up a little bit because it did turn out a little bit long. For Horde, this one is tough. Like, there's tough choices to make here. Scarlet, unfortunately, her 10-star upgrade is not amazing. Most people, when they got upgraded to 10-star, they came with a debuff of some kind, like really raises attack. Oh, not Bloodtooth. Wolf Rider, did he get something? Yeah. No, he didn't really get anything. Anyway, so most people got like an added debuff added onto their attack. She didn't get anything. All she got was more powerful poison. But poison is still, it's still really good. She may not be godlike or as godlike as she was because of her poison, but you know, she's still very, very strong. And most people would have already had her leveled, so honestly, she makes a great 10-star to have. Mine, I'm still waiting on a dupe. She's good because she shines in all situations, versus bosses, versus PV story mode, versus den, versus anything, just to blitz down with that poison damage. So she's not like super crazy, but she's still really good. Second place I give to Medusa. Now Medusa, her change is that she does extra damage to petrified units, but she does not petrify, so she needs someone with petrify like Hester, Freya, Monkey King with her in order to make her really shine. Without those, I think she loses a lot of her utility, because this is 80% extra damage is a lot, and her damage is quite high. So on her own, I don't think she's great, but if you combine her with some people, then she's really, really strong. That's why I put her behind Scarlet, because Scarlet is just more useful. Plus, you know, if you have Scarlet Centaur, then 10-star Scarlet, 10-star Centaur is going to be very, very useful. Very powerful. Oh god, what is he getting into now? Oh, cats. Third place I give to Lexar. Lexar, it seems that his damage is just bonkers. If you combine him with a healer, like his attack is just super, super strong. His he heals himself on hit. His damage, now he does damage to himself, but if you combine him with a healer, then he's gonna live a lot longer and blow things up. So his damage is just super high. It's very, very crazy. So as far as I've seen, this guy is a powerhouse, like a serious, serious powerhouse. Oh boy, I don't have personal experience. Now, I have to pick him over everyone else because he is more useful in any situation, just because more damage can always be useful. People have asked me, should I level Rilia? And my answer actually is no, because 9-star or 8 and 9-star, you can overpower her very, very quickly. You can overpower her healing. I've fought 10-star ones and I still overpower their healing. She's not crazy. She can be very annoying against lower level if you're a lower level team, but her 10-star upgrade, all it is just a little bit more healing. It's not because like this didn't get upgrades, so her skill adds more healing, and that's it. So she has a little bit more attack, she heals a little bit better. It's not enough. It's really just not enough. It doesn't. So don't level Rillia to 10 star if you have better options. The honorable mention I give to Bloodtooth. Now Bloodtooth heals on, he steals attack, so he's great versus bosses. Guild bosses, if you're fighting high level guild bosses. If you're fighting Den, if you're fighting, what's the word, Planet Trial, where the enemies just have super scaled attack, then Bloodtooth goes crazy. But he's not good versus player, because his life is low, he's gonna die, and his power is based on when things die and stuff like that. So, you know, he's not useful in all situations, but he's a lot of fun to play with. I did just take mine to 9 star, but I haven't really had a chance to use him too much. Oh, I'm so broke. So he gets the honorable mention just because he's not useful in all situations, just most situations. Everyone else I think is more multi-purpose than he is. Luna, I mean, it's obvious. Luna is number 1. She silences everyone. Her skill gives her damage reduction 80%. She's fast. She's very, very fast. She's one of the fastest units in the game. Faster units in the game. I mean, clerics will outdo her, but you put some speed on her, she's going to hit first. And, I mean, her whole thing is she silences everybody. And her damage went up by a lot, actually. Let me see what this was before. Yeah, it used to be 85%, now it's 145%. So her damage went up like crazy. Her damage reduction makes it so that she can almost tank after she fires a skill. So I mean, Luna is just really good. There's nothing that can be said about her that hasn't already been said. She's just one of the better units in the game for all purposes. Number 2 I give to Centaur. I mean, everyone knows Centaur. He poisons. If he poisons on crit, he does extra damage to poisoned enemies. He and Scarlet make a strong duo, so, you know, if you have Centaur and Scarlet, you cannot go wrong 10-starring them both. They still work very good together, but, you know, if you have the choice, Luna is still better than Centaur. Now, his thing, I mean, he drops their speed, so that was added to him, so it's pretty good. I mean, but he's a little bit on the slow side, so he may not get it off in time to do anything unless you pair him with Ultima to speed him up to get his skill off first. So I don't know that his speed reduction matters, but ultimately he still is a very strong character. His attack is quite high, and, you know, poison damage is always good. Anytime you can combine you can stack effects and get poison with, you know, Scarlet or anybody else, then he really, really shines. So I have my Centaur up, and I think he's very good. I think he's just behind Luna. I think he's the best one, the best elf. 3rd place I'm gonna give to Vegvasir. This is the tank that doesn't die. If you use him in basically anything, because his whole thing is when he drops to 50% health, he starts, where is it? Oh, he heals 3 times, 400% of attack, and that's not a small amount. Let me see how much mine heals for. So he heals, he heals 400% of attack for 3 rounds, so that's like 80,000. And so he almost has a 2nd set of HP. Almost. Because he heals so much after he hits 50%. So if you use him in Expedition, he's crazy. If you use him in bosses, he will stay alive for quite a while. So as a tank, he is one of the best tanks, period. He might be 2nd best tank in the game behind Monkey King. And Monkey King, well, we'll get to him. And so, unfortunately, when he was raised to 10-star, the only thing that changes is his skill hits 4 people instead of 3. And that's it. Like, wait, his skill does 158, and before it did, no, it's the same. And now it has a 48% chance to crit instead of 36. So unfortunately, his 10-star upgrade was not great, but you know, he was already so good to begin with. That freeze, this freeze comes in clutch, and so that's why he's great with crit artifacts or crit runes and all that stuff. I really love Vegvisir. His tanking is unparalleled. I still use mine in Expedition, even though I have Monkey King, because he heals so much. 4th place honorable mention goes to Grand. Now, Grand was a mediocre, high-end mediocre tank before, but his new skill, when he gets 10-star, he restores health now. So he became like really utility. I still wouldn't put him over Vegvisir. Vegvisir heals. Okay, Vegvisir heals himself. Grand heals other people. If you want them to be a good tank, I think healing themselves is going to be better. But if you have Grand, you can't go wrong with Grand. You know, that's assuming you're not using Luna Centaur as well. It depends on what your R is. So Grand got really good 10-star. Okay, so next is going to be Undead. This one is kind of, I don't know. Shudmel obviously is #1, hands down. She's possibly the best non-Heaven Hell unit in the game right now. And the reason is her regular attack hits 4 people and has 50% chance to silence. So she's silencing you before anything, before a skill, before you do anything at all. She has silenced you, and that is like crazy. Her life is decent, her attack is pretty high because power creep. Her skill at 10-star, so at 9-star she healed 4 people for 4 rounds. At 10-star she heals everybody for 4 rounds. So her healing got way better in 10-star, but she's so good normally that, I mean, you would have used her anyway. So definitely she's my new favorite character, and oh my god, I can't wait to use her. This silence is just, it doesn't make sense why they would do it. She's so strong that like she instantly outclasses everybody. There's no comparison. 2nd place, this one's tricky because Aiden actually is really good. He heals himself on his skills. He does great damage with, I think, bleed, or no, poison. Oh, he does extra damage to Wanderer. I thought he did, oh no, yeah, he does extra damage to bleeding foes, so he works really good with Medusa. So he heals himself like crazy. He does bleed. Oh, actually, this is not written on the skill, but I believe his skill inflicts bleed. Yeah, his skill inflicts bleed. It's just not written in the 10-star one, but if you have him, you know. So he does extra damage. He does extra damage to the people that he hits with his skill, and he heals himself, and he's like, he heals when they die, and he heals when they're low life. Or no, he gets stronger when they're low life. So this guy is crazy strong, but wait, 180% to 3 enemies. So he is good for longer battles, but you don't necessarily want longer battles, especially not in endgame. You want them to be over as fast as possible. So for that end, I kind of still give the edge to Reaper. Now, Reaper is just strong. He hits everybody. He silences warriors. He, what does that mean? Make them target. I believe, yeah, he just silences warriors, and he ups his own attack. Now, obviously, you know Reaper. When he dies, he does damage to everybody. So that's really what he's there for. He's kind of a blitz mage. He does damage. He does damage when he dies, and he silences warriors. And most people have a warrior tank, so that's why he's just really good. And I give the edge to him over Aiden, but obviously some people will say otherwise. I've never personally used Aiden, so I can't say for sure, but I've seen numbers and he heals like crazy and he puts out damage like crazy. So, you know, he and Reaper I think are close contention. Bonus mention for 4th place is for Ripper, just because this guy, for long battles, he does poison that lasts for 5 rounds. So if you go the whole 15 versus like friend bosses, this guy is your guy. He's the best for sustained fights. But for everything else, not so much, because he has really, really low life. So he tends to die, but if he lands his poison, he's really good. Honorable mention double is that this guy is my absolute favorite 10-star thing. I love these glowing knives. I really do. So I love his 10-star model. Okay, so I'm gonna get into Heaven and Hell, and these may be this is also, you know, it's opinionated. I put Nameless King at 4th. I really do. Lindberg, obviously, he's crazy. He 100% stuns people. He 100% gets stun on 2 people, plus extra damage to Wanderer, plus extra damage for low health. It's like, and he's immune to stun. So he stuns people and you can't stun him. And he's really fast, and his stats are super high. So this guy, I mean, this guy, I don't know, he's crazy. He's so good. That 100% stun is like, is just like, holy crap. I can't believe that this skill does so many things. So, I mean, I want to give the edge to him just because he's newer, and because power creep means that his stats are really good. So, I think he's just, man, I can't wait to use this guy. But until then, you know, I got to use who I got. Number 2, I go to Mars. Mars, I think, is in contention to be one of the best heroes in the game, period, over everybody. The reasoning mostly is because he revives with 80% damage reduction and a skill, so he can fire his skill again. His skill is to 4 people with stun and extra damage if his life is low. I believe his damage goes up when he fires a skill. Oh yeah. So every time he attacks, his damage goes up. Every time his skill goes off, his attack goes up, and he's just really strong. So if his attack just keeps going up, 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 then he dies and he comes back with, you know, extra life, then he's crazy, and he's gonna fire his skill again right after he comes back. So this guy, like I said, I haven't used him either, but the numbers show that he is one of the strongest units out there, and luckily now he has stun. I don't think that he had stun in lower versions. Yeah, he didn't have that, so adding the stun to his skill made him a lot better. His stats, actually, his life is not crazy high, but his attack is very high, his speed is really good, and that revive. So anybody with revive, obviously, combine that with some clerics and you've got murder going on. Number 3, I go to Verthandi. She's much easier to get than Nameless King. Poor Nameless King. He used to be top of the top, and now I relegate him to 4th place, because Verthandi at 10-star, she heals a lot more, and she increases your attack by 20%. So there is something to be said for using her as your tank. If you combine her with the Heaven artifact, which the Heaven artifact reduces damage that she takes, 15% reduced damage. So she actually can almost tank for you a little bit. Plus, she reflects damage. It's a very low percentage, but it's a lot of attack. Her attack is very high. So her heal is crazy. She just heals. She heals herself. She heals everybody. She ups everybody's attack, and her attack is just very high. Let me see what mine. She's got 56,000 attack. I mean, she's up there. Centaur is already 250, and she has as much attack as him. So her attack is just crazy high. Monkey King is, well, he's something else. So Verthandi, I think, is just great. Nameless King, sadly, I mean, he's strong, but he doesn't add crowd control. He doesn't have stun. He doesn't have healing. He doesn't have buffing everybody else. I think he just yeah, he does nothing for the rest of your team. He's a solo powerhouse on his own, which is great, but the rest of these people kind of like, I don't know, Mars's damage is just too high, Lindberg's stun is too good, and Verthandi's healing is too useful to help everybody, to work with the rest of your team. That his poor Nameless King, he's just not on the same level as them. Oops. So finally, I'm gonna go to Hell. Now this one is tricky because I put Freya in 4th. Now Freya, her Petrify is amazing. No way about it. It really is. But I give the edge to the other people because Freya kind of is there as kind of like spam it till it works strategy. So she's great in like Den, where you can just keep trying and trying and trying until she gets a crazy Petrify. But until then, I don't think she's... If her Petrify it doesn't go off, then she's not going to help you too much. So number 1, Monkey King. I mean, this guy, he has high reflect, he revives. There's no disputing that this guy can really save you in any case. A single 10-star Monkey King can single-handedly take out an entire team of 9 stars. So if you got him, use him. He's good. He's really good. And his updated skill is he just does a little bit extra damage. His 10-star upgrade actually is not very good, but he was so good before that it doesn't matter. So when he was my first 10-star, he was single-handedly keeping me alive versus strong teams. And I've seen this in Expedition where he will be the last man standing, taking down like most of a team when everyone else is dead. So there's nothing to be said about it. He's just that good. Chesia. Now, Chesia, her thing is, her skill does crazy damage. Now, on its own, it looks pretty good, but I think she has, right here. When the moment she fires her skill, the second time she fires it, it becomes 250% stronger, and it's just... So if she gets it off twice, there's not... You're probably gonna win. So I'm told. I don't get to use her either. I have 1 copy. So there was going to be an artifact that increased her energy by 50 to the start, and if she had that, it would have made her godlike, but we don't have that. So her thing is, she's a little bit slower, so after everybody has fired their skills, then she will fire hers, and that's what you want. So you want her to fire skills towards the lower end, and then she'll fire this, do crazy damage, add bleed damage, so obviously she works well with Aiden and Medusa, I think. And so she's just super, super, super strong. She's also, resistant to silence, so it's hard to keep her down. 50% isn't... I mean, it's pretty good. So yeah, she's just super, super, super strong. I really wish I could use her. I've only got my 1 copy, and I'm looking forward to that. 3rd place, I'm gonna give to Zexanoth because he's got this weird thing going. His thing is that he steals energy when you hit him. Where is it? He steals energy from... I think it's... If they hit him, he steals their energy. But in practice, apparently, it's not super visible that he's stopping them from firing their skills. Probably because you're hitting them with your skills and they're still going to fire them anyway. So in theory, this is pretty cool. But I don't know. So the thing that I really like is that this guy, his normal attack silences people, just like Shudmel, but only 2. So he's not as good as Shudmel in that sense, but he still silences turn 1 before anybody has done anything, and he steals energy, so he silences them and he stops them from using skills. And his life, look at this, 576,000, his life is crazy, and he lowers defense. So his attack is pretty good. I'm not sure how this skill works, to be honest. Let me see here. Okay, so lowers their defense by 7, but then what does this do? Equal damage of 20%. I guess it does extra damage. I'm not sure. So using him as a tank to steal their energy is a viable strategy, but I'm not sure how effective it is. So I'm kind of going off of theory. If in practice he doesn't ever get anything off with this, then maybe he's not as good as I thought. But still, this silence, 2 people, 60% silence on the first round is just wow. And his speed is so good. 1217 at 10 star, it's so good. Plus he's got an extra 40 from this. So yeah. I have to give the edge to him over Freya just because of silence and because of the energy steal. And Chessia's damage is ultra high and Monkey King's damage is ultra high, so I'm sorry Freya, you're amazing, but she didn't make the cut for me. So that's my new top 3 of each faction. Remember that just because they're at the top doesn't mean they're good for doesn't mean that you should aim for them above anyone else. You should still level whoever you got. This game is very RNG based and you can't control who you get, so you just kind of hope that you get those people. For early players, when you've just got 1 5-star and you're like, yay, I've got them, remember that it takes a lot of extra copies to upgrade them. You may not be able to keep all these people going forward. Don't be afraid to level other people in the meantime until you reach mid-late game and you're like, oh well, I've got a whole team of 7 stars, time to start leveling, or I can replace them with new people as I get them. Actually, it's all the way up, so for 5 to 7, just use who you got. It's only at end game that you start looking at it and going, well, I don't want to put resources into this guy because it's so expensive, and you end up, aiming for an end team that you really like. This is my team right now. Ultima, I don't have a copies for. Scarlet, I have 1 copy. Shudmel, I have 1 copy, but this is probably going to be what my team ends up as in 10-star land, if I ever get there. Yeah. So, like I said, use who you got, but keep this in mind for end game. Early game, don't worry about it too heavily because it's not going to make that much of a difference if you've got, a 5-star lower tier character versus a 5-star upper tier character. 5-star is not so bad that it matters. You don't even really need a tank at 5-star level. It only really shines at 6-star and up. So that's my video. I hope it helps you. This one is a lot longer than I expected, but I'm covering, a lot of people. Remember that this video will be obsoleted in easily a month's time when new heroes come out, maybe a couple months from now. This is only current as of now. Right now, crowd control is king, and therefore that's what's important. Please don't come back to me 3 months from now and say this video is terrible, it's not useful anymore, because there's nothing I can do about it at that time. I can only hope that I've released a new video at that time. So that's that. Unfortunately, this video is too long, so I'm not going to do anything else in it. So hopefully this helps you. Hopefully you have a better idea of who the better characters are to aim for, who to prioritize in leveling, and make a better team out of it. I choose best of each one for Unity Aura because, like I said in previous videos, Unity Aura is the most utility. But like I said, use who you got. Make whatever aura you can with the best characters you have. Good luck, everybody. See you next time.